In previous models, we focused on creativity being much more than something artistic and that it's used throughout your day to day life. However, in this module, it was centered around how the famous artist Salvador Dali and how his unique and divergent creativity connects to what we have learned so far in this class and entrepreneurship as a whole. Dali's work focused around surrealism, which is the principles, ideas, or practice of producing fantastic imagery or effects in art, literature, film, or theater by means of unnatural or irrational juxtapositions and combinations. Dali basically created his own way of art using surrealism and made the surrealism movement very dominant and present during his time period. The movement was meant to find meaning beyond logic and norms. So I made the connection between this and creativity and innovation because in order for one to be innovated, they have to think outside the box and use their creativity to create things like Dali did. He was known for his unique way of taking normal and producing it into something of his own. So like he didn't use typical elements in his art, and he made his artwork more into a story rather than just a painting. For example, his self-portrait represented him not having a complete view or knowledge of himself, where one would usually think of a self-portrait as just an image of the artist. Instead, in his painting, the image barely looks like Dali at all. As I read in the module, he mirrored Van Gogh and Rembrandt's style and approaches and made it into something his own, which represents the early movements of innovation. When researching Salvador Dali, I also saw that none of his self-portraits were really of himself or a clear image of himself, and they were very divergent and surreal and it was more of like what he sees in the world rather than just a picture of himself. So we learned in previous modules that creativity and innovation, they go hand in hand. To be innovative is to use your creativity in not only like artistic ways, but you can use them in day-to-day life. These tie in heavily to entrepreneurship because in order to start or run your own business, you are constantly having to be innovative in order to be successful. You have to think outside the box from what your competitors are doing and know how to appeal to your customers' wants and needs. Just like Dali used with surrealism, entrepreneurs are always needing to be coming up with ideas and twist what may be known as normal into something much different than what their competitors are using and make it into something of their own. So my view of entrepreneurship in general has definitely changed after this module because after realizing the connection between Salvador Dali, his artistic style through surrealism, it really opened my eyes to how different one must think in order to be successful as an entrepreneur. It's about thinking not only outside the box, but also adding in the divergent thinking of which Dali had really had to really make his art his own. So you have to use those techniques to make your business or anything that you're doing into something your own, to put you aside from everyone else. It also opened my eyes to how creative and impactful our community is when it comes to innovation around the Tampa Bay area. Innovation is all around us, and just walking around can give you so much inspiration with everything Tampa and St. Pete has to offer. I had no idea how many world-changing innovations have been created just in our backyard. Especially being from Tampa, the examples found in the modules and through my other research really opened my eyes to how much has been created here and how much history our city has and how much it has to offer. So the example I used from the module was Webb City's Cut Rate Drugstore. James Earl Dock Webb founded the drugstore in 1926, and it was labeled the world's most unusual drugstore. It was the first drugstore to sell things other than what you would normally find in one, and sold them also in unusual departments. For example, he sold underwear in the grocery department, which obviously was very unusual. It also brought innovation to checkout aisles by introducing the express lane or the 10 items or less lane. It's funny to think about how these crazy inventions that he had at the time are things that are so normal to us now, and it's what made him stand out from the rest of the competition back then, and it was proven that made him very successful. No, you wouldn't find underwear in the grocery department nowadays at Target or something, but you buy anything and everything off of Amazon, which is basically what he created back then, the in-person version, and that's basically what it's seen as now. It showed that Webb cared more about his customer service experience through the operation innovation, which is what made him and his business so unique and successful. The example I found of innovation and creativity in a business was actually PDQ. It was founded in 2011 by Bob Basham and Nick Rader, and the first location was opened up and founded in Tampa. They wanted to build a new kind of restaurant, one that makes people the focus and quality the bottom line. They knew they wanted to have a fast food restaurant, but one that it was affordable and fresh. They went on a road trip to North Carolina and found a neighborhood joint called Tenders, where they made their chicken tenders from scratch. And on spot, Nick and Bob made a deal with the owners to open up a business, PDQ, to serve their chicken tenders. They took a new twist on a fast food restaurant and they made it more community based. They felt that people should be on a name to name basis with the customers and workers and to make it more homegrown within the community, which is something that you didn't really see before when it came to fast food restaurants. People just thought you go in, go out. There wasn't really connection to it, but they wanted somewhere that was affordable for anyone, but also to give them that personal connection with the company.